Hey there everyone, welcome back to Gamevine, and my name is David, and today we're going to be doing another Fast 5 edition for Halloween, but this one is for the adults out there. And what we do here on Fast 5, we try to compile a top 5 list for certain games that are themes or related to each other. Like today, we are doing the top 5 Halloween board games for adults. And there are a ton of horror games out there that can fill this Halloween list easy. And so it was hard to kind of shrink it down to a top 5 list, especially with all the zombie games out there. So what I did is I took a certain kind of branch of the horror genre and picked my favorites. So I picked a good zombie game, I picked a good Lovecraftian game, I picked a few haunted house games, but that's what I did, and that's how I compiled this list. So if your game is not on it, doesn't mean that your game is bad. I'm sure it's a great game. But again, there are a ton of horror games, and I just wanted to pick one to fill every niche. But please leave all your opinions down in the comments. I would love to hear from you about your favorite Halloween board game. And if you watched the first Fast 5, you've seen that I only had 60 seconds to talk about each game. And the purpose behind that is I just want to get the word of mouth out about these games so you can watch it and go out and see if the game's for you. So let's try not to belabor this any longer, let's get to the list. But before we do that, I have 2 honorable mentions. One I have, one I don't. The first one I have here is Hecatombs. This actually has clear like hex cards, and it's a CCG that died out a long time ago. It's pretty gory, but if you get past that, it has some pretty neat mechanisms in it. The other game is Ghost Stories. I haven't played Ghost Stories, but I've watched a lot about it, so I think maybe if I were to play it, it might go on this list. But I know there are a couple games that kind of fill that niche on the list here, so I just wanted to mention Ghost Stories. Alright, so number 5 on the list is a Rio Grande game called Fearsome Floors. Now this is a Friedman Freeze game, and it's a bit old. It's about 10-15 years old, but it's easy to find right now. And this fills my B-rated old school type of scary movie theme. So it's definitely Halloween themed, and it's cheesy as you can see the art here. But the cool thing about this is you're running away from a monster that you create. You can make a Frankenstein here, the head came off, like I did, or you can mix and match. There are tons of different pieces for monsters here, big blob and eyeball person, but you're running away from this monster, and it's a competitive game. You want to be the first one out of this mansion. It's kind of blah on the board here, but this game plays great in numbers, so you want to create those kind of spooky B-rated movies where they're killing off a lot of people. The more the merrier. The monster moves fast, and he's like going towards the closest person, axing that person off, and you're trying to have a certain amount of your people leave the mansion to win the game. This fills that niche of cheesy game, and that's the time. If this appeals to you, I say go out and find it. Now number 4 fills the niche of Werewolf. Now if you're familiar with Werewolf, it's a social deduction game, and there's a bunch of them out there, but this is a good one for Halloween, and it's fast. So this one fills my filler game of the night, and this is One Night Werewolf. Now this is the expansion, but I'm going to have a picture here showing the first One Night Werewolf. It's basically the same thing, just with this expansion it adds a lot of different roles. Now you're basically in a circle, and you're listening to this app that has Eric Summers' silky smooth voice on it, and you're doing different commands based on the tiles. Now the production of this game, what little bit that there is great. The pictures are nice, and this feels like it's like Mafia. If you've ever played Mafia, you're basically just doing these actions and trying to find out who's the werewolf. If you kill one werewolf, as the villagers here, you win. Or if the werewolves kill off only villagers, the werewolves win. And in the base game, I like that because it's a bit simpler, but if you are getting tired of all those, you can go out and get Daybreak, and it has a lot more of those kooky roles. So I enjoyed this for a filler, and it's a good Halloween edition. So that was One Night Werewolf by Vizier Games, and that's the time. Okay, so the next game that I have, number 3 in the list, is kind of semi-cooperative. It is a haunted house game called Betrayal on House on the Hill. Now, I don't have a physical copy of this game, but I've played it twice now, and it's really given me that haunted house feel. Now, this has different kind of monsters like fearsome floors, but it's a more serious aspect, and you're cooperating together, and then once this thing called the haunt happens, one person can become an enemy, and then you're fighting against that person and the house. Now, there are tons of different scenarios. I think there are 50, maybe more, with this game, and replayability is, ample. But I hear some of the stories are better than others, and some of the components are a little more to be desired. But with the exception of all that, if you can leave that behind, this is a great haunted house game that has some pretty good components and a lot of story that you can really sink your teeth into. So that is Betrayal on House on the Hill. Let's go to number 2. Now, number 2 is my Lovecraftian addition to the list. Now, I've played Eldritch Horror, I've played Elder Sign, I have not played Arkham Horror, but I think I would like it. Though, the one that I did play is number 2, Mansion of Madness. Now, I don't have a physical copy. This was actually one of the first games that got me back into modern gaming, and my friend has it, and that was the first night I ever played with him. Now, I didn't know what to expect, but this game was a good addition to really get me into the hobby. Now, it is kind of a dungeon master. One person is controlling Cthulhu, and he sets up all the house, and that can be a bit tedious. I remember him going through the book back and forth, but beyond that, if you throw that out, this game flows fantastic. I love the combat system. I like rolling dice. You don't get to do that in this game, but you just flip cards, and it tells you what to do right there. So this game, I feel, doesn't get in the way of the experience. This is why I picked this Lovecraftian game, because you don't really have to read into the rules or anything. You can just experience this. The miniatures are great, and this is done by Fantasy Flight. And this is probably my favorite Lovecraftian game out there. So that was Mansion of Madness. If you haven't played it and you played the other Eldritch Horror or kind of Lovecraftian games, I suggest you go and give this one a try. I know that was more than a minute, there's the time, but I like Mansions of Madness. So the number 1 board game is my zombie pick for the list, and there are tons of zombie games out there right now. And if you know me, I like zombies and everything zombie related, so it was kind of hard to pick this game, especially because the zombies aren't the main threat in this game. So that is really the intrigue about it. Let's start the timer. Today's number 1 Halloween board games for adults is Dead of Winter by Plaid Games. Now, this game has multiple stories in this one big box, and that is one of the best things about this board game. I've talked to multiple people about this game, and they all had a different story. And the stories that I could, talk to them about and relate to them, because I've ran into those stories, we had a good laugh about, because we were like, oh, you remember that lumberjack came out of the woods and he was in his birthday suit? Yes. And that is kind of the cool part about it. It's a cooperative game with a possible betrayer, which can really go downhill fast because you can have 2 groups going at it, and then the zombies are that extra element. Again, the zombies aren't the main thing about this game, but if you don't take care of them, they can munch away on you. I love this game, and if you haven't played it, you really have to give Dead of Winter a try. So that is the top 5 board games for adults on the Halloween side. I hope that you agree, and I hope you enjoyed the list, but if you did not, please let me know how much I am wrong in the comments down below. And until the next time that I see ya, have a great rest of your day, and a great time with all that you play. Happy Halloween, everybody. Bye.
Dave, now that you're done, can I say my Fast Five? Oh, no!
Dude,
I'm so sorry.
That's expensive. What are you doing, man? Get out of here, Dracula. You are not sleeping on the couch anymore. Put that back up.
One place that I got kicked out of. 2 places that I get kicked out of.